highest snowfall of the season from Kedarnath in Uttarakhand to Lahore and Spiti in Himachal Pradesh to Gulmarg and Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir. Early snowfall brings cheer to tourists in parts of northern India. As winter sets in, there are forecasts of a colder than usual season this year. Hello and welcome to Inside South Asia. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. Let's begin. Afghanistan's Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi is in New Delhi for a high-profile visit, seen as a significant engagement between the Indian government and the Taliban-led government in Kabul. Muttaqi's visit to India comes after he was granted travel exemption by the United Nations Security Council and follows a series of diplomatic exchanges this year. Muttaqi attended Moscow format talks in Russia ahead of his India visit. The Afghan foreign minister warned that Islamic State and other terror groups are expanding their presence in neighboring countries by setting up training and operational bases, indirectly referring to ISKP's presence. In Pakistan's Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the warning struck the Afghan minister follows an intel dossier which indicates that terror groups Islamic State Khorasan province, the ISKP and Lashkar-e-Taiba are collaborating. A recently surfaced photograph also reveals ISKP's Balochistan coordinator Mir Shafiq Bengal gifting a pistol to Lashkar-e-Taiba commander Rana Muhammad Ashfaq, a clear indication of operational collaboration between the two groups. Intel reports even say that ISKP is being subtly repurposed by Pakistan's military establishment, that is, to target Baloch separatists and uncooperative Taliban factions within Afghanistan. And at the same time, there are renewed attempts to destabilize Jammu and Kashmir. There's been a distinct ratcheting up of Pakistan's war rhetoric against India. The country's defense minister, Khawaja Asif, came out open sabre-rattling, saying chances of war with India are real. And this as the Indian Air Force marked its raising day, with the IAF chief citing Operation Sindoor as a shining example of what disciplined training and determined execution has achieved.
The Indian Air Force stands ready to respond to every challenge with speed, precision, and determination. Abhedya or impervious highlights our role as the guardians of the sky. Tarique or precise emphasizes our accuracy in conducting operations. Operation Sindoor में भारतीय वायुसेना ने बखूबी इस वाक्य को चरितार्थ करके दिखाया. Operation Sindoor is also a shining example of clear higher directions, our indigenous capability, and effective cohesion and jointmanship between all defense forces.
Showcasing the successes of India's Operation Sindoor on the occasion of the 93rd anniversary of the Indian Air Force. Days before this, the IAF chief had laid out a specific list of Pakistani defense infrastructure ravaged in the May operation. A dozen Pakistani fighter jets, key radar sites and command centers wiped out. He put out details of fighter jets destroyed, high-tech fighters downed in air-to-air combat, and at least 4 F-16s destroyed on the ground while under maintenance in hangars. A long-range AWAC was hit from over 300 kilometers, and a C-130 class transport aircraft struck. In the backdrop of all this, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khawaja Asif put out a fresh string of anti-India threats and sabre-rattling. Chances of war with India are real. We will achieve a better result than before, he says. Asif claimed Pakistan would get bigger success if fighting breaks out, and that the country has more allies than before. India had given a strong message to Pakistan ahead of this vitriol. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh had said India can cross any border whenever needed to protect its citizens and safeguard the country's unity. He spoke of stability, welfare and growth for India's people that Pakistan can't even aspire to.
आप साउथ एशिया के कुछ देशों की हालत देखें तो आप समझेंगे कि भारत कितनी स्टेबिलिटी के साथ आगे बढ़ रहा है। और एमजे अकबर साहब ने पाकिस्तान के बारे में अपनी एक किताब में लिखा था, पाकिस्तान एक जेली स्टेट है और जेली स्टेट एक ऐसा देश माना जाता है जो हमेशा अस्थिर रहता है मगर बिखरता नहीं है। आज दुनिया भी पाकिस्तान के बारे में यह समझ सकती है, लेकिन आज जैसे पाकिस्तान की हालत हैं उस संबंध में बिखरेगा या क्या होगा ये ऊपर वाला ही जाने।
Similar warnings came from the Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi. He told Pakistan to stop backing terror or risk disappearing from the world map.
This is the strike on the Khan Air Base. You can see the massive crater that it has left.
From Pahalgam to Pakistan's heartland, Operation Sindoor had sent a message. India will act when its people are attacked. And the forces say they are ready, no matter how loud the threats from across the border.
Bangladesh is gearing up for landmark elections now just 4 months away that will represent perhaps its most significant political transition since the country was born. It'll be more about than installing a new government. Re-establishing eroded democratic foundations is a challenge here. With Sheikh Hasina out, a key dynamic this time is the empowered Bangladesh Nationalist Party and the announced return of its long-exiled leader, Tarique Rahman, the political heir of Khaleda Zia.
Big changes are coming to Bangladesh. National elections are scheduled for February 2026, and the stakes couldn't be bigger. The future direction of Bangladesh, the stability of South Asia. For the first time, once the main opposition party, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party or BNP of Begum Khaleda Zia, stands alone as the clear frontrunner. Two factors power the BNP's rise like never before. The first, the impending return of acting chairman of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, Tarique Rahman. Once forced into exile, Rahman now steps into the spotlight as the man many see as Bangladesh's next prime minister. His readiness to come home marks a watershed moment. He is the son of former President Ziaur Rahman and former Prime Minister and Sheikh Hasina arch-rival Khaleda Zia. With legal hurdles around his exile cleared, Tarique Rahman's return injects a powerful new dynamic into the political landscape. The second key factor will be formal exclusion of Sheikh Hasina's Awami League, the party that has dominated Bangladeshi politics for years, now sidelined but still powerful behind the scenes. Its absence changes how voters think and act.
February, the elections have been announced, and Tarique Rahman, all the charges against him were dropped, as you know, by Mr. Muhammad Yunus's government. And therefore, he is a legitimate choice. He's currently the acting chairman of the BNP, and which is the biggest party at the moment. But then we also have the Jamaat-e-Islami, then we have the other young parties which have come up. So we will have to see how it plays out. Secondly, we'll have to see what will be the role, although it is a banned party at the moment, Awami League will be there, which way the Awami Leaguers will eventually vote.
Other contenders are also on the move. Islamist parties like Jamaat-e-Islami want to return to mainstream politics. Student leaders frustrated with the old guard are now building new alliances and even their own parties, hoping to capture the voice of the young generation. A great deal will depend on which way ardent supporters of Sheikh Hasina's now barred Awami League tilt. Look beyond Bangladesh to the bigger picture in South Asia. This election holds profound implications beyond Bangladesh's borders, especially for India. New Delhi watches closely, asserting its geopolitical red lines. key security shifts under the interim government raise concerns in India. One, the re-entry of Islamist forces like the Jamaat-e-Islami into formal politics. And two, a rising bonhomie between Dhaka and Islamabad. There's a conspicuous revival of diplomatic ties since Hasina's ouster. It has rung alarm bells in the Indian capital.
One of the biggest concerns that India had from Bangladesh in last many years was the problem that we were facing across. This was terrorism, extremism and separatism that was coming up. They were garnering all kinds of groups on their side in the tribes. And so therefore we have had a lot of problems. But that was something that was addressed mostly during the Sheikh Hasina regime. And that was something that is once again increasing further chances of destabilization on our eastern borders.
For India and regional powers, the upcoming elections will shape crucial alliances and security. For Western donors, the election outcome will dictate future engagement, and for the incoming government in Dhaka, the challenge will be immense: deliver stability, foster growth, and secure Bangladesh's democratic future. Will it lead to a long-term democratic consolidation? Can a democratically elected dispensation stop Bangladesh's slide back into cycles of instability?
The countdown is underway for assembly elections in Bihar. Voting dates were announced this week. Polling in India's third most populous state will be held in 2 phases, and over 70 million voters will elect representatives from 243 assembly seats in the state. The first round of voting is on 6th of November and the second and final phase is on November 11th. Results will be announced on the 14th, and with less than a month that is left for voting day, there is a big focus on mega party campaigns around the state. There are 5 major issues at the center of these elections: Election Commission's special intensive revision of voter list, caste survey and social justice. Along with migration and unemployment, minority and Dalit voters will once again play a huge role in Bihar. In the past elections, the BJP and JDU have jointly secured a bigger voter share than the rival Congress-RJD alliance. Tens of thousands of Afghans, many of whom had worked for US-led NATO forces or Western NGOs, travelled to neighbouring Pakistan post the return of the Taliban in 2021. 4 years on, thousands of these activists, musicians, journalists and others are still waiting, desperately hoping that one of the Western embassies will give them a safer legalized existence. Our next report brings you the story of one such Afghan family.
Music is a solace for 15-year-old Shaima and her family. They're among many Afghan refugees who live in safe houses in Islamabad, keeping their voices low, fearful that their neighbors don't overhear their Afghan mother tongue. Shaima and her family have been dealt an unlucky hand, considering they were scheduled for a flight to New York in February this year, but their plans to fly out from Islamabad went up in the air when newly re-elected US President Donald Trump indefinitely suspended refugee admissions, stranding around 15,000 Afghans. That's not all. They're also at risk of a renewed deportation drive by Pakistan, but they have long exhausted their welcome, the prospect of a forced return to Afghanistan, the only country in the world that has banned girls and women from most secondary and higher education as well as jobs, is particularly devastating, especially for a musical family, underlining the harsh reality of the Taliban's music ban.
Afghanistan, the situation, especially for musicians, is not a good place. Yeah. If those people if they would find us immediately, they would do something with us. I was hoping to one day become a big musician, became a active advocate for people, to be a voice for those people to not have a voice, and do with the music, do some good thing in the world. We are inspired from other musicians, Coldplay, U2 and Nick Cave, and other great musicians. And they are very big inspiration to us, and we learn a lot of things from them.
In recent weeks, hundreds of these refugees in hiding have been arrested and deported by the Pakistani government, which has reiterated that it will allow Afghans with pending cases to stay. provided the Western nations assure the government that they will resettle them. Reportedly, multiple deadlines have been agreed upon but not honored. Back home in Afghanistan, before the Taliban came to power, Shaima and her sister Lailama had attended the after-school lessons where they learned to play guitar and explore their musical talents, run by a former American arena rocker.
I can show my feeling with music, like when I play music, when I improvise, especially my improvise, and I can show my feeling and my lot of experience in it.
One of 10 siblings, Lailama sold sunflower seeds to help support the family and had cherished a stringless plastic guitar until she encountered the real thing. But Lailama's father, fearing retribution from the Taliban government, which considers Western music anti-Islamic and has widely forbidden girls and women from singing and having their voices heard in public, broke her guitar.
That day my father forced to broke that one because he said if the Taliban come and find us from our house and here everybody will talk about that.
Since they were smuggled into Pakistan in April 2022 to apply for refugee status with the United States, Shaima and her family have had to move 4 times, driven deeper into hiding by Pakistan's crackdown, which began in 2023. Initially, the US government was helpful, but the Trump administration has dismantled the office and the protections it offered, leaving the Afghan refugees in limbo. Like Shaima and her family, thousands more, mostly in the capital Islamabad or its outskirts, are waiting for relocation.
Dozens were left dead after landslides and flash floods in Nepal and India's Darjeeling region. Bhutan too witnessed severe flooding last week. More than 200 trekkers were stranded on Mount Everest due to a blizzard. What's behind the erratic extreme weather in the month of October? Let's take a look.
Floods and landslides wreaked havoc in India and Nepal. Once again, that too in the month of October. Experts have linked unusual rains this month to climate change, which has made the entire South Asian region vulnerable. Hundreds of people die every year in landslides and flash floods across the Indian subcontinent during the monsoon season, which normally starts in mid-June and continues through mid-September. But after the withdrawal of the monsoon, such disastrous floods have raised concerns, especially at the preparedness of the government to tackle such crises. Torrential rain mayhem was seen in India's eastern hill region of Darjeeling and neighbouring Nepal, which killed more than 70 people after washing away homes, roads and bridges. At least 23 people died in Darjeeling and several people went missing. An iron bridge over the Balason River linking the city of Siliguri in the plains with the hill town of Mirik collapsed in the heavy rain. Several roads have been damaged and flooded. Huge tracts of land were inundated. The districts of Darjeeling, Kalimpong, Jalpaiguri, Alipurduar, which are home to tea plantations, were among those affected. In the latest from India's Himachal Pradesh, at least 16 people were killed when a landslide triggered by torrential rains hit a passenger bus in northern India's state. The rescue workers and local villagers at the accident site were digging for survivors from under heavy boulders and mounds of earth. Another incident just got added to the disaster list in already battered Himachal Pradesh, which faced nature's fury this monsoon season. Then in Nepal, at least 61 people lost their lives after heavy rains triggered floods and landslides in the Himalayan country.
When the flood gushed into our shop, we were in our village celebrating Dashain, We immediately rushed back, leaving the festive time with our family because we had to clean the shop. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to run our business.
The Nepal Army led the rescue mission in the region affected by landslides in southeastern Nepal. The Koshi River, which caused deadly floods in the eastern Indian state of Bihar almost every year, was flowing above the danger level. Extreme weather patterns were also felt on top of the world. More than 200 trekkers were left stranded after unexpectedly strong snowstorms tore across Tibet. According to certified mountaineering guides, lack of proper training and climbing experience are among some of the reasons why hundreds of trekkers were stranded on Mount Everest. Ritin Jangbu Sherpa, who has climbed the mountain 7 times, was assigned to join the rescue operations to save the hikers trapped in freezing temperatures near the eastern face of Everest in Tibet.
They're all newcomers, and then basically they don't have the exact experience what it's like to be, what's the weather, if the weather condition is harsh, and how you're going to prepare, those kind of, they don't have that kind of experience. So probably this would be the first reason that a lot of people have been stranded in that site.
In north of Tibet, one trekker died of hypothermia and acute mountain sickness after being stranded by snowstorms. In Bhutan too, an Indian Army team from Eastern Command along with the Royal Bhutan Army and an Indian military training team undertook a joint rescue mission and evacuated 3 stranded civilians following a sudden surge in the water level of the Torsha River north of Phuentsholing. These incidents are yet another reflection of the lack of adequate disaster preparedness and response measures during calamities. There is no doubt climate mitigation has become the need of the hour.
And that's all we have in our show today. I'll leave you with visuals from the grand 93rd anniversary celebrations of the Indian Air Force. I'm Samiksha Srivastava and we'll see you next week.